Assalamualaikum everyone. I think that we can start now. Okay, so anyone still scanning for your attendance? Everyone has scanned it? Okay. So, wait, you can hear me, right? Okay. So what I plan on doing today is to go through some of the answers for the activities for topic 4. Let me share. See. Just a minute. So I guess that we will go through the latest one, inheritance part 3. Right? Some of you have submitted it. Some of you haven't submitted it yet. This one. Okay. Okay, so let's go through all the questions. If you have submitted, I will mark it. So for now, I have only marked your in-class activities 1. Okay, so this one, for this question, it says given the interface and class definition below, right? So we have the interface, and then we have the abstract class, and then we have this rectangle that extends the shape and then implements drawable, right? So whatever that you have for interface, it will always be implements. Okay, so if you have several interface, you can implement several interface that you have, okay? It's only that when you extend, when you inherit from your parent, you can only have one parent. Right. So the question is for the first one, it says what are the methods that should be implemented in rectangle class? Right. So if we look at over here, it says extend, shape, implement, drawable. So it should implement everything that is abstract. So in this shape class, it should implement calculate area, calculate parameter. While in the interface, it needs to implement this draw method, right? Because in the interface, even though you don't write it as abstract, whatever inside the interface, it will be abstract. Okay? So for the first one, you need to implement calculate area, calculate parameter, and also draw. Right? The 3 methods. Okay. And then the next question, it says implement all the methods stated in A. Right, so we have calculate area, calculate parameter, and also draw. So you can actually write whatever that you want inside of it. Right. For example, for the calculate area, you know that it needs to return a double, so you need to return something. So even if you write something inside here, say that if you have system.out.println some area, and then maybe you say return 5, for example, that is still correct, right? As long as you are returning something. But of course, for this question, when you know that you want to calculate the area, then you will calculate it somehow. And then you have calculate parameter, same thing. And then we have the method draw, right? For draw, it's void. So you can simply have a simple system.out.println. Is it okay for A and B? Okay. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so next one, it says analyze the following Java codes and then identify the errors that is found in the codes. Right, so we have this abstract class, and then we have abstract method. So if you look over here, this is one error because you're supposed to have the semicolon at the end of it. There is one error. Then what else? And then this one, because of the abstract method, it cannot be private. It should be public. See what else? Okay, and also this part, that's abstract. This part, so you cannot instantiate it because this class is abstract. So you have, let's say, what? How many marks? 3 marks. So 3 questions, 3 answers. The first one is the semicolon. The second one is because it's abstract, you cannot have it private. And the third one, you cannot create an object, you cannot instantiate because your HR stuff is an abstract. Is it clear for that one? Okay, so I'll go to the next one. Okay, so we have class B and C are children of class A. And then you says assume that there are no data in class A, B, and C. Okay, so we have this one. Public class B extend A, we have A method, we have B method. And then it says over here, class A implements a method named A method, which is overridden by class B. And then it prints A method to the console. And then class A has an abstract method named abstract method. It has no parameter, no return value. It says write the complete definition of class A. Okay, so when you have a method that is abstract, your class will become abstract as well. Right? So if you don't write abstract, it will give you an error. Because once you have an abstract method, your class become abstract. So we have public abstract class A, and then we know that our method, abstract method is abstract. So we have public abstract void abstract method. Right? Because it's an abstract method, you don't have to write everything inside that method. So whoever that extends your class A, then they need to define what is inside the abstract method. Okay. So you have public abstract void abstract method, and then don't forget your semicolon. Okay, and then what else it says? And then it also needs to to print out a method to the console, right? So it would have public void a method and then just a simple system.out.print line printing a method. So that is for part A. Is it clear for A? Okay. So let's go through B. B, it says, suppose we want to implement abstract method in class B and C as well. And the abstract method in class B will print abstract method in B, and abstract method in class C will print abstract method in C. It has to rewrite the class B and class C. Okay, because B extend A, when B extend your class A, and then your abstract method here is abstract, so class B will have to write about abstract method. So you can write it straight away. Public void abstract method, and then system.out.print line abstract method in B. Right? So that is straightforward. So remember that when you implement the abstract method, right, over here we have public abstract void abstract method. When we implement it, you don't have to write the abstract, right? Just write public, the return type void, and then the name of the method. For example, here abstract method. Right? So that is for B, and C is the same thing because class C extend A, so it needs to implement the abstract method. Right, so that's it for B. Any questions so far? Okay. So I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so it says here, okay, so this one can be a bit confusing. It says the program test AB class and its sample running output are given below. So it asks you to write the static method print object in class test AB is still undefined. And write the complete definition of method print object with the correct parameter. And then this method will invoke the method abstract method in either B or C object, right? So we need to write the print object. If we look over here, for the print object method, it will create an object, right? And we know that from here, the print object, it does not return anything, right? So it should be type void. So if you have maybe like string x equal to print method, then you would know that your print object would return a string, right? But right now, our print method is returned straight away print object and then new b, right? So our static method for print object, it would have public, static, and then we know it doesn't have any return type, so it's void. The name of the method, which is print object, so we have print object, okay, and then the parameter over here is passing an object straight away. So you can write, for example, a, or whatever instant you want to call it as, or the variable that you want to call it as. Right? So when you pass your new b, so it creates the object straight away. And then because it says inside the method, it will invoke your abstract method. So whatever variable that you have here, dot with your method, your abstract method. So that's the only thing that you need to have for this question. Does it make sense for this one? Okay, so I guess that the only confusing thing is this part, right? Because usually we pass in a variable and we are not passing the object straight away. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so these two questions are simply asking to state some information. So the first one, it says, state two differences between a class and interface, right? So you can refer this one to your notes. So sample answer that I wrote over here, interface, it only contains constant and abstract methods, right? And then all methods in an interface are automatically public. And then an interface, it cannot be instantiated. It can only be implemented by class, right? By using the keyword implements. Okay. So the next one, it says give two differences between abstract class and interface. So before it asks about a class and interface, now we have abstract and interface. So abstract, declared with the reserved word abstract. So interface, declared with the reserved word interface in its heading. Class is abstract if it contains one abstract method. In interface, all the methods in interface are abstract, so you don't need to declare it as abstract. But if you want to write it as abstract, then that's fine as well. So that is the last question for this one. So is it clear to you about abstract and interface? Not really. So any question about abstract and interface? So basically we have the abstract and interface because what we have done before, we write our methods straight away. And then if we have our children, meaning that we extend that parent class, then we only override the methods, right? But some methods are general. So for example, say that you have your parent class, let's say it's animal. And then inside your parent class, you have a method called sound. Let's just open a new document here. Right. So you have your parent class, make the size larger. Okay, so you have your parent class, you call it as animal, and then you have your children class. So your children class extend the animal. Say that your children class you have cat and also dog, right? So if we write it in code, say public baby. We have public class public class animal. So does it have any example that I can use? That's fine. Let's use this one. And then maybe over here you have public void sound. Right. Make it slightly smaller. And then you have your children class. Let's close over there. You have your children class, public class cat extends animal. right? And then you want to have this override the sound class, so that maybe it will do system.out.println and then a cat word, yeah, right? So over here you can see that inside the parent class, if I don't make it as an abstract, then currently it doesn't do anything. Or maybe I can have something over here, system.out.println general sound, which doesn't make any sense, right? So you can see that inside the animal class, for this sound method, it doesn't actually have to write anything inside of it. So that's why if we have this one as an abstract, then I don't have to write this general sound. Right. Meaning that whoever extends this class, then they need to deal with that method. In the parent class, the parent does not have to write anything for that method. And then remember that once you have an abstract method, your class become abstract. Abstract. Does it kind of make sense? Right. So that's basically for the abstract. Okay. Abstract. So do you have any question for abstract interface? Interface. Let's see. Interface. I have any example? Just going to look at this part. Okay. Let me think of a good example for interface. Interface. Then I'll refer to your notes, and then I'll just explain the example from there. Okay, so let's see interface. So we have abstract, interface. Alright, so that's the only example. Okay, so the example does not really explain much. Interface, public interface name. Let's look at this one. Yeah, I think it's easier if we have our own public. Okay. See that we have other classes. Say we have parent, children, and maybe we have other classes. See that we have a interface. Should be interface for, say we have pet and also wild animal. Interface. Okay. So I'm still thinking what should we write inside that pet and wild animal. Interface. Okay. Okay, see that we have interface. Yes. Public. Interface pet. Because whatever inside your interface would be abstract method. So you don't have to write the definition of the method. So maybe inside of it, we want to say, what method should we have? Void type of pet, for example. Type of pet. And then we can have public interface pet. Okay, and then we have the wild animal interface. Public interface. Public interface. Wild animal. See that we have void type of wild. Right? So if we don't have this one as interface, in our class, it can only extend one parent, right? So if cat is an animal and cat is also a pet, right? It can only extend one parent. So say that we choose to extend this animal as its parent, but then we also want it to have this one, right? So when we have interface, then we can have it to inherit it. Inherit. So it would implement, wait, the keyword is implement. So extend animal implements pet. Let's just change this one to other things. Say, what kind of class it might have. Let's say cat. Cat is an animal. It is also a pet, and it's, this is pretty random. Let's say, let's have it. It stays at home. And then inside over here, type of home. So now we have two interfaces. So the first one is pet, and then the second interface is stays home. And then we want cats to have whatever methods inside these two interfaces. Right? So because it's interface, it can implement pet and then implements what the other one's called. Stays home. Stays home. Right. And then because we implement the interface pets and stay home, then we have to write for this method the type of pet and also type of home. Does it kind of make sense for the interface? So interface is basically when you need more than one parent, but you cannot have more than one parent in Java. So you would do that one as interface because you can implement many interface as needed. Does it kind of make sense for that one? So whatever methods that you have inside your parent class or your interface, it depends on how you want your program to be, right? Maybe like you want to have your type of home over here, it should be inside your abstract class animal, that is fine as well. So it depends how you arrange it. Okay, so any more question for interface or abstract? Right, so remember that in Java, you can only have one parent, but if you have the interface, as many interface that you want. Okay, so should we go through the other exercise? Wait, just now we have gone through exercise for part 3. So let's go through part 2. See, where is my part 2? Part 2. So part 2. So I haven't marked your part 2 yet, so I will do it soon. Okay, so part 2, it says over here, the following code define two classes. We have protected class and access modifier. And then the question, it says the code cannot be compiled because of an error. Explain the reason for the error and then modify the statement. Okay, so the first one is this one. So this will give you an error because say object message 1, object message 1. This is inside, yeah, because inside your class access modifier, right? So you create an object of your access modifier, which is this class, and then you want to call your message 1. But inside here, there's no message 1. You only have message 2. Right? So it will give you an error. But if you want to have your message 1, so you can write the method over here, or if you look back at this protected class, it already have your protected void message 1. Right? It's in the same package, so you can extend the protected class. So it becomes the parent of your access modifier. Right? So once you extend the protected class, then you can access the message 1 method. So what I wrote over here, object.message1, it does not have message 1 method because the method is in protected class. So what you can do, you can have your public class access modifier to extend the protected class. Right? Then you can access your message one. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. So we have this program. Okay. State one statement in the program that exhibit polymorphic reference. Right? So polymorphic reference is the reference variable of the parent class. So if we look over here, so we have employee equal to new employee. And then over here we have employee equal to new lecturer. And then we have employee dot new clerk. Right? So that means that this variable over here, that is showing polymorphic reference, because it can point to any of the child class. So lecturer is the child class, new clerk is the child class. Right? And then for B, it says write one statement that exhibit polymorphic behavior. Right? So behavior, that would be the method. Example over here, employee dot calculate bonus. This part or this part. Right? So that shows polymorphic behavior. This is behavior, and this one is polymorphic reference. Is it okay for polymorphic stuff? Okay. So the next question is, okay. So it asks about the differences between upcasting and downcasting. So this is what you can find in your notes, right? So upcasting, so you are casting an instance of a child class to a variable of the parent class. So downcasting from parents to the children. So upcasting, it says it can be done implicitly or explicitly. For downcasting, it must be done explicitly. Right? So meaning that when it's done implicitly or explicitly, so it depends on whether you are upcasting or downcasting, then you have to cast it accordingly, right? So example, if we have, say that we have this one. Let's see if we have x equal to 5. And then we want our 5 to be of double y equal to x. Or if you want to say it explicitly or implicitly, then you can write your something like that, right? I'm not sure if this one is working. Well, we can try and run the code and see whether it works or not. Right, so this is the casting part. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so we have the definition of class person and employee. So we have the person, and then employee extends person. And then we have the following variable. We have person P, employee E. Okay, so it says write a Java statement that demonstrates the concept of polymorphic reference. Right. So reference, as we saw before, reference would be the variable. Polymorphic reference. So this is our parent class. This is the child. Right. So we can have our polymorphic reference would be P. Here I just write the example straight away. So I have P equal to new employee. And this P, this is the reference variable. So going next one. So it asks for polymorphic behavior. So behavior, whatever the method that it can invoke. Right. So let's see this one. Display. So it extends person. If we look back at person, person has this method, get name and display. So for polymorphic behavior, you can call any of those methods. For example, we call it p.display. So we are calling the display method from using from the parent. But this one, because we override it, then we are calling the method that we have overridden. Okay, so the next question, it says, which one that shows the overriding method? So it is the display method. If we look back over here, so inside the parent, there's this display method. And then in the child, which is called employee, we rewrite again the display method. So if you look over here, it doesn't make sense, right? In the parent, you write the method and then you leave it blank. That's why for this one, we might want to change it into an abstract, so that you don't have to write that part. Okay, so remember that for the overriding, this method that you override. But for overloading, look back, overloading. So overloading, do you still remember overload? Right. So you have the same method name, but it should have different parameters or different number of parameters. Right. So it says here, method demonstrate the concept of method overloading. So it would be display chassis method, which is this one. Right. Any questions so far? Is it okay? Okay, so no questions. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, this one, it says Java provides 4 access modifier. It asks you to explain the different access levels, right? So this one you can refer to your notes. Okay, so that is for the access modifier. So is it clear for this part 2 exercises? Okay, now I'll go to part 1. Let's see, where is my part 1? This is part 1. I think that we only went through some of it because you have some question on it. So let's go from the beginning. Okay. So we have this following class definition. So it asks you to draw the UML class diagram showing the inheritance relationship among them. Right. So if you look at the code over here, so we have class A, and then we have class B extends A, and then we have class C extends B. So you would draw it like this. So you have your class A, and then B extends A. So you have the arrow pointing to A. And then over here you have class C extend B. So you have your C pointing to your B. Right. So this UML class diagram, so it shows the inheritance. Okay, so the next question, it says, what will be the output if we run the main method of test class? So it will give you the output ABC. Because if we look over here, we have A1, so it's new A. So over here, when it calls the first one, the M method, it returns the letter A. So over here, it prints out A. The second one, okay, it creates new B. It creates for this class, so it returns B. And then we have A3, new C. So it goes to your class C, it returns C. Right? So that's why your output would be ABC. Then you can try and run this code. It should run just fine and give you the same output ABC. Okay, so question 2. So it says write the complete definition of class A. So class A implements a method named A method, which is overridden by class B, and then it prints A method to the console. So we have public class A, just writing the class A. And then we have A method. So we have public void A method, and then just a simple system.out.println A method. That's the only thing. Okay, so going to the next one. Okay, this one, okay, we have this UML class diagram. So I'll go straight to the question. So it says the first one, if international class extend employee class, like international over here, it extend the employee class. Which class is the superclass and which class is the subclass? Right. So superclass is the parent, subclass is the children or the child. So your superclass is your employee. The subclass would be the international class. So this is just another name for parent. The next one, it says list 4 instance variable that an object of international class has. International. Right. So obviously we have passport number and origin country. And then you can have any variables that is within the employee. Name, employee ID, or salary. That would be correct. But if you write any instance variable inside the Malaysian, that is wrong. Because international, it inherits from the employee. It does not know about this Malaysian at all. Okay. So example that I wrote over here, we have the passport number, origin country, string name, string employee ID. Okay, for C, it says identify 4 methods that can be invoked by both Malaysian and international object. Right. So that means that whatever that Malaysian and international, whatever that they extend from, so it extends from the employee, so it can access the methods inside here. Right. So both Malaysian and international would have set name, set employee ID, get name, get employee ID, and also calculate salary. So both international and Malaysian can invoke those methods. Because I think that when I went through your answers, some of you wrote the methods inside just international or just Malaysian. So if you write those methods, For example, like this method, only international can use those methods. Malaysian cannot access those methods. But whatever in the parent has, international and Malaysian can have those methods. They can access it. Okay. So those are just some of the methods. Okay, so the next one, it says we have the calculate salary method. So what is the concept? So that is method overriding. So method overriding, you have the exact same method name and same parameter. It's only that whatever inside that method that you change. Right? So that is the method of overriding. So the next one, it asks you what is the difference between overriding and overloading. Right, so you can just refer to your notes for this one. So what I wrote over here, so override, it redefined the methods of the superclass. It must have the same method name, same parameter list, and same return type. While overloading, it is several methods of the same name. So they can have different parameter list or different data type order. That's the difference between override and also overload. The next one, so we have this one. So it asks about, okay, describe the relationship between the classes. So this is inheritance. Pickup trucks, it inherits from car and also truck. Right? So you have to look at the arrow where it is pointing at. So what type of inheritance is demonstrated? So that is multiple inheritance. And the next question it asks, is it possible to implement pickup truck class in Java by using the keyword extend? Right now, it shows multiple inheritance, but you cannot do that inside Java because Java does not support multiple inheritance. If you want to inherit from multiple parents, then maybe you have to consider using interface, right? Because interface, you use implements. To implement, you can implement as many interface as you want. But for inheritance, when you extend, you can only extend from one parent. So that is number 4. Any questions so far up until question number 4? Okay, so let's go number 5. Number 5, we have this definition, person and employee. Wait, I think that we have gone through this question, right? Other exercise, but anyway, so it says here, which method demonstrates the concept of overriding? So overriding would be display. So if you look back over here, this is the parent. It has this method. And then you have your child. You rewrite again the method display. So this is overriding. The concept of overriding is display. Concept of overloading would be this other method. Because overloading, it has the same name but different parameter. We'll go to the next one. Okay, so based on the following class definition, so let's go straight. So what is the output? So I think that most of you got this one correct. So you can try and run this code and then see step by step what happens over here. I'll skip number 6. Number 7. So we have the definition of a class named vehicle. Answer all the question. Let's see what is the question. It says over here, the constructor of bike is missing. So complete the definition of the bike constructor. I think I have gone through this one with you before. So constructor you can write it this way. The important part is you need to have this super, because your bicycle extends vehicle, and then if we go to vehicle, the constructor of it, it takes in one parameter, one input, right? Because it takes one input, then we have to have our super and pass in one input. Say that if in our vehicle, the method and the constructor is public vehicle, like that, right? It doesn't take any parameter. If it doesn't take any parameter, if you don't write this one, you can run the code just fine. Because by default, Java will write your super automatically. But right now, because our constructor for our super class, it takes in one input, then we have to write it by ourselves. That's why this part is the important one. So for the constructor for the bicycle, you can write it this way, or you can write your public bicycle super something. You have to pass in something because where is my vehicle? Oh wait, just a minute. Let's undo it. I think I change this one, because the constructor over here, it takes in a string. Right? And it takes in a string. Let's copy this one. Then when you call the super, you need to pass in a string. For this question, you can write it this way, or you can write it this way. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so that is for A. So B, it says the following definition of another child class of vehicle named car. Okay. It says it cannot be compiled because it has syntax error. Identify the statement that produces the error and explain about the errors. So we have this one. Okay, so the error is this part. Because sound is not public in vehicle, it cannot be accessed from outside the package. So this, if you look at the package over here, it's inside this car package. Even though it's extend vehicle, going back to the vehicle over here, right, you can see that it's in a different package. And then this method, we don't say that it's public, so it's default. So when it's default, it can only be accessed within the same package. If you are in a different package, you cannot access this default method. Right? So that is the error for that one. This part, because you cannot access this sound outside of the package. Right, so that is all of the questions. Do you have any question, or do you want me to explain again any of those questions? Is it okay? Is it clear? Okay. So we have discussed all the answers for topic 4, right? For the exercise part 1, part 2, and also part 3. Okay, so let's see. What else we have? Wait, did I just press that one? Share. Okay. Right. So we have done everything for topic 4. So topic 5, which is exception handling. So you can try and do the exercise. Let me zoom in a bit. Zoom. So you try and do that one. And then we have started to learn about the graphical user interface, the GUI. And you have gone through part 1, right? So now is 12:40. 12:40. You still have slightly less than 1 hour. Right? Okay. So what I want you to do now is to go through GUI part 2. Right? So I have posted the video. So it's not as long as part 1. So the first video is 14 minutes, the second one is 9 minutes. And then after you have done this part 2, try and do the exercise. So the first one is the MCQ questions. The second one are just some questions to check your understanding of it. Wait, just click on it. Let's preview. This one, for this question, the first one, it will ask you to go back to the video of GUI part 1, which is the last video, because the last video, it shows you how to use the tools inside of NetBeans. Have you tried using the tools inside of NetBeans? Because, okay, some of you have tried it, because that might be useful for you when you want to do for the project, right? But for your project, if you don't want to use that NetBeans tools, you can always write the code by yourself, because we have learned it inside the part 1, right? It's only that you have other options on how to do it. So here I just ask you for that kind of question. First one. Right, so you can just like go through all this question and see whether you have understood about the GUI. Right. So I'll just go back over here. It's loading. Okay. Part 1. Part 2. This one. And I have posted the past year question as well. Okay, so just, and also I provide some codes that you can try. So this example 2, so I covered this example 2 inside the video for part 2, 1/2, this one. And also for this listener, you can download this whole folder and then you can try and run it. Because for your project, maybe you can do something like this one. Because for the listener, wait, let me open my NetBeans and show you that code if you run it. Just a minute, I just turn on my NetBeans. Napkins. That is this one. Everything inside this listener, GUI 5. Where is it again? So you can access the code so you can go through it. So inside that file, there are two Java files. So one is GUI 5, another one is next button. Right. So if you run the code, say, oh wait, it's still scanning my project. You will get this kind of output. Right. So you will have this G-frame, and then you can, okay, because in part 1, the buttons are not doing anything, right? But for this one, if you click on the button, then it will give you another J-frame because I set it to have another J-frame. Then if I click over here, it will give me some output. So you can try and run this one and see what all of these are doing. Because this is covering for GUI part 2. So that's not a lot inside the code. I think that you can try and understand it. But in the video, I've covered and explained some of this code as well. Okay, so do you have any question? Okay, so if you want to use Eclipse, you can use it as well. So only that because in our course, we covered the, where is my, the tools inside of NetBeans. Design, just a minute. I'm going to share this one again. Share content. Right. Because whatever that you have at the right side, so that you can just like drag and drop without having to write the code. But I think that maybe Eclipse has it as well. I haven't tried Eclipse and look at whether they have this building tool. But if you don't want to use this building tool, you can always write the code. That is fine. Whichever that you prefer to do. Any other question that you have? So I haven't gone through what you want to do for your project because I asked you to submit it before, right? On online learning. I will go through those. Well, this week is ending. Well, yeah, next week. Because next week we don't have any class, right? So next week you have 1 week off. And next week, okay, but this one is due 28. Let's see. Because I think that you have your Hari Raya holiday from 24th up until 28th. Okay, so this due. Well, even though I put here as due 28, even you can still submit it even if you are submitting it late. That's fine. Because these are just exercises, just to make sure that you understand from this video? Okay, so any other question? If no question, since we still have time, I want you to go through this video for GUI part 2, for part 1, and also this part 2 over here, right? And then answer the questions. So if you have any question, then you can WhatsApp me. Okay, so I'll put up again the attendance if you haven't scanned it. If you have scanned it, I guess that's it for today. So I will see you again after the holiday. Okay, thank you. Ya, selamat Hari Raya to all as well, even though still early.